Hello, my name's Kirby Scheimann, and on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Lake Lanier Association, we'd like to welcome you to the first ever broadcast of Live on Lanier, a program specifically for members of the Lake Lanier Association or those who are thinking about joining. We'd love to have you come on board. We hope to cover timely topics on every one of our shows. Today we'll be featuring Lake Lanier Association President Todd Baxter. We'll also introduce you to our new Executive Director, Victoria Clevenger. We'll follow that up with an interview with Bonny Putney talking about the Lake Lanier Association's single largest event every year, Shore Sweep, known the nation over as the largest single day cleanup on any lake in the U.S. We'll follow that up with some boating safety tips from our friends at the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Most of this was recorded the week of Memorial Day weekend, so it's National Safe Boating Week when you're seeing these interviews take place. Of course, we believe the best day on Lanier is a safe day on Lanier. So we wish you a safe, joyful summer of boating. In the meantime, we're looking forward to bringing you many more programs, and we ask that you come back and join us every month. We'll have timely topics, including various realtors with years of experience here on Lake Lanier. We'll be talking to dock builders, dock providers, we'll be talking to marinas and restaurant operators, and of course, following up on all of your suggestions on things you'd like to see, what timely topics you think would be interesting. So, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Lake Lanier Association, welcome to the very first episode of Live on Lanier. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
I support the LLA because I live, work, and play on Lake Lanier. I met my husband on Lake Lanier. I've raised my family on Lake Lanier. I want this lake to be clean, full, and safe for my children and my grandchildren to enjoy.
Well, welcome back. We're sitting here in the Lake Lanier official offices, the home of the Lake Lanier Association, with President Todd Baxter. Todd, welcome and thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here.
Could you start by giving us a little background on how you became a member of the Lake Lanier Association and then a board member and now our president?
Sure. Well, my family and I moved back to the area in 2019 and bought a house on the lake. And I was looking to get involved in lake life in our local community and was aware of Lake Lanier Association, having lived here before, and met John Barker, who was the president at the time, and talked to him about how I could help. And he felt like my background in business and project management and things of the sort could be a real value to the organization. So
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be able to join as a board member.
Well, that's terrific. And we'll be talking about John and some previous officers in the Lake Lanier Association as we move on through our show. But really, as the introductory show, can you give us a background and a feel for who the Lake Lanier Association truly is?
Well, I mean, our mission is to keep the lake clean, full, and safe. And we have been around since 1966. So this is an organization that's been around for a long time. And the way that I've come to think about it is that this is a lake that is a very complex ecosystem, and more than even ecosystem, it's complex in many ways. It's governed by um, there's a federal government, you know, position on the lake with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There's state with the Georgia DNR. There's several counties, several cities. Um, Many of them police the lake in various forms. They have rules and regulations with the lake. There's really no, or there wasn't, a kind of a voice of the community. And I think we've become a very large voice of, the community, and in fact, the only voice of the community that represents the people who use the lake and the people who live on the lake and the people who, kind of benefit from the lake commercially in some ways. And so when you think about that voice, these things matter to us. Clean, full, and safe matters. It matters to all those entities that I've mentioned, but often regulation gets in the way. Who's responsible for removing this boat? Who's responsible for establishing rules? And there's confusion and often a lot of red tape. And so I think of our role as a facilitator. We help bring together the right people to get things done in order to help keep the lake clean, full, and safe for all of us.
I haven't seen the results of that and sat in on some of those conversations. I'm very, very happy that the Lake Lanier Association has had that mission for a long time because it is working. I think a lot of people would be surprised to know we have an absolutely minimal staff. Most of our organization is totally volunteerism.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have, without our volunteers, frankly, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. We have a strong working board with diverse and impressive backgrounds. But fortunately, we as board members contribute a lot of our time and our resources toward this effort. And we have two staff members that are paid. So it is a very small staff. But it's really the, 1,000+ volunteers that show up for Shore Sweep, or the 4,000 members that we have that help in various ways with other things that that keep everything going and make, all the difference in the work that we do.
Very small but incredibly effective staff, I would add to that.
I would too.
Very
I would.
happy with
I
all of
look
that.
forward to having the group here meet those folks as in these, sessions.
In future episodes, we'll be get a chance to meet all of our board members, and we're going to talk to Victoria a little bit later here in this
Oh, great.
program.
Good.
Talking about our membership, we've got over 4,000 members, but I know there's 10,000 residences on this lake, 10,000 plus. Give us an idea why membership is so important to the mission of the Lake Lanier Association.
I'm always surprised to hear not only 10,000 uh, families and people that live on the lake, but tens of thousands of boat slips, people that use the lake regularly.
Hmm.
Over 10 million visitors a year to the lake. And to the number of people that uh, say, I haven't heard of the Lake Lanier Association. We've been around for all this time. We've worked really hard to increase our presence on the lake. And I think we've been doing a nice job with that. But we really want to create awareness around how people can help. Often people come to us, or I meet people and say, I'd like to get involved. How can I help? And I say, have you heard of the Lake Lanier Association? And it's always a great conversation, right? Because there are a lot of people in this community do genuinely care about the lake, and sure, they may lean in one direction or another. They may care more about, the anglers care more about fishing, and some of the boaters care more about recreation. Um, but regardless of what your primary interest is, our interests are aligned in keeping the lake clean, full, and safe. And so that's why this is an organization where you can make a difference. And there are many ways to make a difference. And your dollars go toward our programs and helping, do exactly that, keep the lake clean, full, and safe. So the your ability to help with your time, or with your financial resources, or with some combination of the two, and with your expertise, right? We find we need tradesmen. We do projects. We do work. We need all kinds of help. So it is um, it's it's an inclusive community. Everybody can bring something of value. If you want to work and you want to make a difference, this is the place we can help you do that.
And I know the clean, full, and safe has been in place for a long time. I was really pleasantly surprised and still kind of in awe of all of the various initiatives that the Lake Lanier Association either operates entirely by itself or through other partnerships or relationships, like you spoke of earlier, that help push forward all of those elements for a better life experience on Lake Lanier.
Oh, sure. I mean, just I am too. Been incredibly impressed. Just a couple of examples of things that we do. First I mentioned earlier the annual Shore Sweep, which is the biggest cleanup on the lake and has been going on for decades now. Where over 1,000 people, approaching 2,000 people one year, have removed 90 tons of trash a year from the lake. It's just an incredible effort, and a real community event that brings everyone together. The solar lights program. So there are almost 300 navigational aids for nighttime navigation on the lake that we have installed, and then we continue to maintain on a regular basis. There are numerous other, kind of smaller programs that we do as well. That with Shore Sweep and with regard to safety, we have life jacket loaner stations. We're up to, this year we're adding another one, so that brings us up to 10.
Really cool too.
Yeah,
I've seen him in the parks. I've seen him at the boat ramps. I love them.
yeah, absolutely. And the really high usage on those stations. We get a lot of um, emails thanking us, for those stations. And it's just, it's as simple as, I got to the beach and I planned to put a life jacket on my child, so that when they swim, they've got that added measure of safety. And I forgot the life jacket, or a reminder to do that if you're on the fence, or maybe on your boat, you just, or, don't have quite enough life jackets. Life jackets save lives. I think we could all agree with that.
Hmm.
I never float in the lake without wearing a life jacket. And, you know, crazy things happen. There are a lot of people on this lake. So it's better to be safe than sorry. And those life jacket loaner stations, I'm sure, have saved lives. I'm just
Hmm.
not sure how many.
That's a great way to be, though. We'd
Yeah.
rather have that kind of news than the worst kind. We spoke of our individual memberships and the families that have joined and helped sponsor our events. There's also a huge boating community in the marinas and the clubs and other areas that are absolutely welcome to be a part of supporting Lake Lanier by joining the Lake Lanier Association. But we also have a business community that participates in supporting our efforts as well.
Yes, we have over 100 business sponsors, depending on your level of sponsorship. We have a lot of visibility and traffic on our website, so we try to be as reciprocal as we can in terms of promoting each other. And typically, they are, lake-related businesses. They're businesses that sell products that could be used on the lake, or restaurants, or something that has to do with our local community. And I think that really matters. And to the extent that we can help each other, I think that's a great place to be in.
We all enjoy having a safe, full lake to play on all summer long. When this initial episode is being recorded right before Memorial Day weekend 2024, for we're hoping for our best, safest summer ever. We're sure grateful for the Lake Lanier Association. If people are interested in individual memberships or corporate memberships, what's the first step?
Well, you can go to lakelanier.org to learn more about the organization, and also you can become a member online. You can communicate with us. We have a report a problem section if you would just like to ask a question or report an issue that you see. But it's very simple to sign up and learn how to become a volunteer and be a part of all the great work that we do.
We'll be talking to Todd in future episodes, along with introducing you to every member of the board of directors of the Lake Lanier Association and taking a deeper dive into some of these initiatives. So we invite you to stay tuned every month for what's coming next. Todd, thank you for all you do for Lake Lanier.
Thank you. Great to be here.
We'll be back right after this.
I was originally a supporter of Lake Lanier Association because I have a business, it's close to the lake, and I did it for commerce purposes. But what I found with Lake Lanier Association is that it's fun. You go to the annual member meetings and it's fun. There's fun people, there's people you haven't seen in a year, there's people on the lake that work there or the businesses on the lake. And so the reason I've stayed with Lake Lanier Association all these years is because of the fun.
We're still coming to you here from the Lake Lanier offices, which just opened earlier this year. Thank you very much for all of that. Really excited to be here, and we have our executive director, Victoria Clevenger, with us. Victoria, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited that we're finally kicking off this whole new program.
We've been talking about it for a while. It's
We
great
have.
to be recording, isn't
It
it?
is. It's
Yeah,
very
hopefully
exciting.
the recording works and we can actually put it on the air. Victoria, you've been with the association for quite a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, please?
Yeah, so I came to the Lake Lanier Association in 2021 as the communications and membership coordinator, and then recently stepped into the executive director role just in November. So I've been with the organization a little over 3 years now.
Well, even before I became a board member, I was thinking, boy, whoever is doing this social media coordination and marketing deserves an award. If they entered it in a contest, I'm sure you'd win it. For anybody else out there who feels the same way, it's been Victoria doing all of that for the last 3 years, and it's really been terrific. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. I think that was a really great way to understand what the Lake Lanier Association does. There's truly no better way to be able to communicate it than being fully immersed in the programs and activities and membership connections. So, being in that role, doing the social media and the emails and the newsletter and the website updates, all of that education and understanding came very naturally. And I think it's set up a really great foundation for my new role in leadership of the organization.
We've seen an equal evolution in the website and the
Mhm.
easeability of how to get in there. And oh, by the way, if you wanted to become a member,
Yes, absolutely. So you could just go to our website, which is lakelanier.org, and we have a plethora of information there. But as Kirby has teed up so nicely for me, of course, that's where you can also support what we do. And that is where you can join your membership as a personal member or a business sponsorship. We've got all the details on there. Of course, if you run into a hiccup or a question, reach out to us directly. There's a contact us page, or you can send us an email or give us a call. We've got myself and our new communications and membership coordinator, Jacqueline Gould, who are ready at the helm to answer those questions and get everybody engaged with our programming and how to support us.
I'm just going to throw in here real quickly as well. For those of you that attended our most recent member appreciation party that was at the boathouse here in
Mhm.
Gainesville, right on Lake Lanier, that was Jacqueline and Victoria with a little side help from Bonnie, almost totally. And I just thought it was a spectacular event.
Thank you.
What a terrific venue, and everything was so well done. Congratulations on all
Thank
of
you.
that.
We were really excited and pleased with the way that turned out. That's been an annual event that we've been doing for many years. Definitely predates my time with the association, but I think this particular year with the almost the grandeur of the event and the venue, it really brought it to a new level. It was a level up opportunity for the LLA.
There we go. Well, the LLA couldn't exist without our business sponsors. The business sponsors really help keep the funding going forward that allow us to do all of the various initiatives. We've talked about a lot of those with other people during today's program, and we're going to do a deeper dive on each and every one of them in future programs. But give us an idea of how important those business members are to the Lake Lanier Association.
Absolutely. So we have almost 100 business sponsors, and their contributions range from a wide range, really. It could be financial, it could be $500 a year, it could be $5,000 a year, or it's their actual support of their time and their resources. We actually have a really wonderful business sponsor, Water Sports Central, and every year around Shore Sweep, they actually close down their retail boat dealership, and every one of their team members comes out boots on the ground, gloves on hand, getting in there with Shore Sweep, getting dirty, and being a part of that cleanup. Or the event you just mentioned with the annual member celebration. Sheila Davis is a huge sponsor of that event, and her whole team comes out and gives out goodies and talks to people about our programs. And it's those types of partnerships that are so crucial to what we do, because we can talk about it all day long, but when there's other individuals and businesses out in the community sharing our message, it makes us much louder, and it's also more relatable. There's other um, avenues or people that are able to speak about the work that we do, and it relates to people in a different way than probably what you or I could talk about, because we're ingrained in it every day, all day.
Mhm.
But truly, their support helps us do what we do, whether it be the financial support or the volunteer work and their time. All of those things are vital since we are such a small team. We've got Jacqueline and myself, so just two staff members, and then our board. So we're a small team, but then with the hands and help of all of our business sponsors, we're able to do so much more.
I'm not sure how many people are aware the Lake Lanier Association is actually a not-for-profit 501c3 organization.
Yep, absolutely. So we have been, ever since our inception, we have been a nonprofit organization with the intent to utilize every bit of resources that we have in regard to our mission. So that's the Clean, Full, Safe Together mission. And you can see that with our programs like the Life Jacket Learner Stations or the new Rip Rap project that we're about to do. Even these special events that we do, there's typically always a fundraising raising element to them, because we have to keep that generation coming in order to continue to fulfill that mission.
So if someone out there is interested in learning more about a business membership, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, there is information on our website, which of course we've said is lakelanier.org, or you can give us a call or send us an email and we can chat through what that looks like.
Speaking of the email, we're going to open up this program for future suggestions. So if there's something you'd like to have us cover, a deeper dive in any specific area, we'll be doing more with the Corps of Engineers and Department of Natural Resources and Boating Safety. But we do have an email address that people can reach out to us to let us know what they'd like to see or other information on the
Yeah,
clinic.
that's right. It's lakeinfo@lakelanier.org. So LAKEINFO at lakelanier.org. And that's just our general inquiries email address. So you could send in a suggestion for the podcast and webinar, or maybe you've got a question about the status of your membership, or hey, how does this work around the lake? Or what does this look like? You can send us those types of inquiries, and we're quick to get back to you if you send us over there.
Okay, well, I'm going to try not to put you totally on the spot here, but
Oh
just
boy.
a little bit. A lot of our members are meeting you as our executive director for the first time. You share a real passion for Lake Lanier and the Lake Lanier Association. Tell us a little bit about where that comes from.
Sure. So I think my passion is actually at a grander level for nonprofit organizations. Before my time with the LLA, I actually worked in nonprofit education for a higher ed level. And I was there for 5.5 years. And I think that really set the runway for my opportunities to further my career in nonprofit work. And I truly have a conviction that as humans, it's so easy to give back and do good. And so if you have the opportunity to make it your life's work and your career, I just I just feel so fulfilled in that. So that is truly why I enjoy working with the LLA, and have for so many years been just devoted to nonprofit type work.
Well, I think I speak for the entire board of directors and also our membership as a board member that we're all thrilled to have you. We're just very excited about the future,
Mm,
everything that's to come, and we're really grateful for everything we've done
yeah.
and wish you nothing but the best of success as our new executive director for the Lake
Thank you.
Lanier
I'm very
Association.
thrilled and pleased to have everybody's support. I certainly feel it.
Great. We'll be back with more just after this.
Lake Lanier Association strives to keep Lake Lanier safe for the 12 million people who use it for recreational enjoyment each year. We promote safe boating through our installation and maintenance of 300 solar lights on Lanier for safer boating after dark, and with our life jacket learner stations and promoting safety courses. The Lake Lanier Association is committed to educate and protect all who visit the lake each year. Learn more about the work of the Lake Lanier Association at lakelanier.org.
So, welcome back, and we're joined now by longtime board member Bonny Putney. Bonny, thank you for joining us here today.
Anytime, Kirby, anytime.
I've always known Bonny as the queen of shore sweep and also the queen of kayaking. You're the greatest kayak adventurist I know on Lake Lanier.
Oh, well, kayaking is a fun thing to do,
And
and there's lots of places to do it, especially on the lake.
I've heard it's a great way to go see an eclipse too.
Awesome. Awesome.
Very cool, very cool. Well, today we're going to focus on shore sweep. Bonny, how long have you been involved with Shore Sweep, and how long have you been actually running the whole show?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I came to the lake in 1983,
Nice.
and I had a full-time job then, and I traveled for a living, so I didn't spend a lot of time on the lake, but I was on the lake. And I met my husband back in the late 80s, about 88, 89, and he was friends with Jackie Joseph, who
Mhm.
was the founder of Lake Lanier Association. So she was very involved, obviously, in taking care of the lake. One of the things that they wanted to start was a lake cleanup. So in 1988, they started Shore Sweep. And at that time, it was basically Boy Scouts and kids and people trying to walk along the shorelines and pick up the trash. And they put it in their own trash cans. We didn't have a dumpster or anything anywhere. We just wanted people to go out and start cleaning up the trash.
Wow, that's
So
neat.
that's how it started. Eventually, we did get dumpsters and T-shirts and all that kind of stuff to try to get it a lot more organized and a lot more people. But it started out as just an ad hoc cleanup locally in Gwinnett County and Forsyth County, and basically spread to the whole lake. And now it is what it is today. We got 1,600 volunteers last year.
Wow.
We took 80 tons of trash off. I mean, it's just evolved because there's so many more people using the lake. There's so much more trash with these black encapsulated foam going everywhere, and a lot more people on boats and things like that. Trash happens. So any place there's people. So without all our volunteers and with all of us out there working all the time to try to get it cleaned up, it wouldn't happen.
So we literally went from Boy Scouts and neighborhoods putting it in their own trash can to collecting almost 80 to 90 tons of trash a year.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it
That's
is
amazing.
amazing
What
when you
kind
think
what
about it.
kind of overall over all of those years? Do you have an
Oh my
idea how
gosh.
much has been taken out?
We as near as we can figure, we're looking at about 2.2 million tons of trash that we have gotten off Lake Lanier. And I would hate to think of what it would look like if we hadn't gotten all that trash off.
That's absolutely remarkable. Congratulations to you and everyone who's done shore sweeping.
And
Every
you,
one of
Kirby,
those years. Well, yeah,
Kirby,
we get
Kirby's
in there and
amazing.
try to help
So
out.
you work very hard at War Hill, which is our biggest site and ends up getting the most trash off the lake every year. So many kudos to everybody there.
So for people out there that have heard about shore sweep and thought next year I'm going to get involved, I'm going to do that, and then another year goes by and now it's been 3 years.
Eh,
How do we get them involved in shore
Oh,
sweep?
it's so easy. It's in September. It's always in September. It's September 21st, 24 this year. Um, we want everybody to come out if they can and help us. We actually have advance sites that we put out 2 weeks before Shore Sweep so that people can actually stage the trash in places where we're going to come and get it at Shore Sweep if they can indeed be there on the day of Shore Sweep. But we need everybody. We need people in boats. We need people walking the shorelines. We need people on the islands. We need it all. And so if we all got together and we all picked up one or two pieces of trash or got one or two of those big encapsulated floats off, the lake would sure be a lot cleaner.
Sure. I like to think shore sweep should last every day all summer long by
Yeah,
bringing your
yeah,
own trash home with you, which
yeah.
is a great
Which is,
jump on.
yeah, which is a little tough when you have an 800-pound piece of styrofoam that you're trying to get rid of. That's what it's turned into. We have to have our sites. We're going to have 14 sites this year. We're going to add one at Little River, and we have to have heavy equipment at all the sites, big dumpsters to put all those floats in and a way to get rid of all the trash. It's a labor of love by a lot of people, including the counties, the cities, all of our volunteers, all of our organization, and it's one of the biggest things that we do for the lake.
I've always considered it remarkable that there's so many different entities spread all around the lake. There's 5 different counties
Yeah,
on the lake.
yeah,
Nearly every one of them is involved.
right, right.
And so many different sites. How many sites are we running on an annual basis now?
We had 13 last year. We'll have 14 this year.
Okay.
I basically am the air traffic controller. I mean, I could just sit there and tell people where to go and what to do and try to make sure all the equipment's in place and all the people are in place and bags and all that kind of thing. But without the volunteers coming out and getting out and bringing us the trash and bringing us the floats and going out on the islands and finding what needs to be picked up, it would be very difficult to get this done. We can't do it without our volunteers and our partners, the dock companies, United Rentals, and people like that step up and want to help.
Sure. One of the unique elements in my mind on how Shore Sweep works is with so many sites spread all over the lake, no matter where you live, you can work in your own community. You can work in your own neighborhood, in your own cove. You can be a part of this and help your direct part of Lake Lanier be a better place when we're done.
It's absolutely true, and that's a good point. You don't have to go far to find a shore sweep site during shore sweep week. So make sure that you look at as to where they are, and if you need to collect your trash ahead of time. I know people are collecting trash already because there's no place to get rid of it until shore sweep. So bring it on because we want it.
One of the other elements I've always been impressed with, and part of what makes that Ward Hill Park such a busy site,
Right?
is the advanced teams that are out there for
Yes.
weeks in advance. They go
Yes.
scout it out. They figure out
Yeah.
where it's at. They get a group of guys together
Yeah.
because, in the old days that foam would dry out because it's
Yeah.
all unencapsulated. Now it's encapsulated. Those floats get heavy.
They get really heavy. And that's an absolutely good point because there are teams of people out there that do kayaking and they do jet skiing together and whatever. And for them to become a team and go out and get 5 or 6 or 8 floats and bring it to an advanced site or to the day of sites, we can't do it without them. I mean, they are the heart and blood of how it gets done. I mean, we only have 13 board members, so it'd be a little tough if it was just us out there picking up the trash and bringing it in.
Sure.
Without our 1,600 volunteers, we couldn't get it done.
I don't want to try to name them all because I'll forget somebody and
Yeah.
be really embarrassing,
Yeah.
but there's some major dock companies on this
Oh
lake
yes, oh
that
yes.
play a huge role in
Huge role.
helping get those advanced sites trash to the dumpsters and where they're going to get picked up. We're
Right,
grateful
right.
for every one of them.
Oh, every single one of them. I mean, without the support of those people, you can't do it. You can't get 72 floats on a regular boat. You have to put it on a barge, and that's what they do. And they bring in the front end loaders and do all kinds of big equipment kind of things that makes this happen and makes us get to 80 tons.
Sure.
And some of them even get boats and things like that at that time, or pieces of docks, and there's all kinds of stuff out there that needs to go.
Just to clarify, Dia, we'd love everybody to join the Lake Lanier Association. We need the numbers, we need the support, we need the help financially for all the programs we're
Definitely.
doing.
It's expensive endeavor. Shore sweep is extremely expensive.
Sure. Do you have to be a member of the association to participate in Shore Sweep?
Oh no, never. You never have to be a member to help clean the lake or anywhere else that you are. That should be something that we all do as humans. Without that, we can't, we possibly can't get anything done. So please, we would love you to join. It really gives us the support and the money that we need in order to make sure that we have what we need to do the job, the bags and the gloves and the infrastructure to do it. But if you can go out and just pick up some trash during Shore Sweep, we would be so appreciative.
And Shore Sweep's coming up in September. If people are ready to jump in and volunteer
Right.
this year, how do we get them to the right place?
Very easy, lakelanier.org, and Shore Sweep will be front and center starting in September. So just click on it and you can get registered right away for your sites, and we'll get you taken care of and go from there.
I can't even imagine what the lake would be like without Shore Sweep and the effort you put in it over the year. Thank you very much, and God bless for all you've done.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. We'll be
Right,
back
thank
with
you.
more right after this.
A full Lake Lanier is important and vital to the 5 million people who rely on it for drinking water. Lake Lanier Association's advocacy with the Corps of Engineers and city, county, and state relationships, along with our initiatives like RIPRAP, protect and maintain the unique island shoreline of Lake Lanier. Learn more about the work of the Lake Lanier Association or how to become a member, a volunteer, or to donate at lakelanier.org.
Well, hello again. We're coming to you from the Lanier Project Management Office, and we're very happy to be joined by Operations Project Manager for Lake Sidney Lanier, Tim Rainey. Tim, thank you for joining us
Good
today.
morning. Thank you for having me.
We look forward to having Tim on many, many future programs and doing deeper dives into a lot of these subjects. Tim, you've got a lot of experience here on Lake Lanier, dating all the way back to 1992.
I have been here for a while with a short intermission. I became a park ranger here in 1992. I stayed about 8 years till 2000, then went off. I was chief ranger at Lake Seminole. Left there, did a stint at our Mobile district office. Left there, went to John H. Carr Reservoir in the Wilmington district of the Corps. From the Wilmington districts at John H. Carr, I did a temporary duty at our headquarters office in Washington, D.C. Then I went to be project manager at Allatoona and ended up back here at Lake Lanier in 2008 as OPM, Operations Project Manager. Oh, I said in 2008.
That's terrific. Having dealt with a lot of different project management offices over the years, it's nice having someone you can talk to who's had a background literally on the ground in the field, not just here, but in different places. I'm sure that served you well in coming up to where you're at now.
I enjoy the field. I kind of look at it the way the Corps of Engineers is structured with the headquarters and the regional offices or division and the district offices and then the field. I had that short experience in all three, the district office, the division office, and headquarters. It opened my eyes as to how they operate, their requirements, why they're there. But for me personally, just in my personality and skills, the field is where I want to be.
That's terrific. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of things over the coming months. I know two of them that fly really high on the radar of most Lake Lanier Association members are dock permits and lake levels.
Mhm.
So, from kind of a 50,000-foot view, tell us how dock permits work on Lake Lanier, please.
Well, currently our shoreline use permits in our 2004 shoreline management plan, it limited the number of dock permits we can issue to 10,615. Right now we have I'll say right around 100, maybe under that now of permits available. We in the last, I'll say within the last 4 months probably, really started to focus on that wait list and start to issue those available permits. It is a slow process because we do have to balance that with all of our change of owners and renewals, but we're getting it done. And again, it is a slow process, and there's many things that goes into that we can talk about at another time. But currently, there are available permits. We are addressing our wait list, and some folks that have been waiting for years for a new permit are being issued those permits.
As with everything, there's always the budget to talk about when you're talking about any government agency. I know the shoreline management plan you just referenced goes back to 2004. That's been in place for quite a while.
Yes, and we have actually a number of years ago, we identified, and plus with the Lanier Association and other stakeholders, we have all identified it is time or has been time to update that shoreline management plan. We have been requesting funding in our budget process for that process to update the plan, and we just have not received that funding. Overall project budget for Lake Lanier has remained flat for probably the past decade. And we just can't do is with increasing costs and inflation, we just can't do as much with that same amount of funding as we used to do.
Like everyone to know who's tuning in that we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the budget process and the different operations and how they take place here. But for just getting things introduced today, we appreciate your getting started with that valuable information. Another really big topic on everyone's mind, depending on where the lake is at in that specific day, are lake levels and how they're managed. And it seems like your name comes up in every conversation when the lake's a little low.
Oh yeah, lake levels are a big issue. It's important to know. Well, I'll back up. Lately, meaning the past several years, we have had wet years, and we've been experiencing, for the most part, full or near full levels all summer long. Probably 10 years ago or more, that wasn't the case. We were experiencing dry years, and the lake level would go down 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 feet. And but we always bounce back. We've been hitting our guide curve lately. But it is important to know that we manage the water in Lake Lanier for the entire ACF That's the Apalachicola, Chattahoochee, Flint River system. We manage the water in Lake Lanier for the entire system. We don't manage the water in Lake Lanier only for Lake Lanier. There are two other storage projects in the system, West Point and Walter F. George, and we have to keep those three storage projects in balance. So there could be times we have to release water to give water to West Point or George. There may be time when those are high that we have to not release water. So while we do have guide curves in our water control manual, and we operate the project in accordance with the water control manual, there's also that water control manual also governs the entire ACF system. So while we do try to hit the guide curves and have full pool for summer recreation and summertime, we do have to consider many other factors, and one of those is the entire system, as well as the status of Walter F. George and West Point and all the downstream needs. We are at the headwaters of the system. Lake Lanier is a large reservoir. Lake Lanier has over 64% of the storage capacity of the entire ACF basin. So it's a very important project or lake in the operation of the entire system. I know there's a lot in there, and that was just barely scratching the surface of how water is managed in the lake, but we can dive into that on a later discussion.
On one of our deeper dives, I'd like to take a look back at some of the charts and things you and I have looked at in previous meetings. I think it could be very educational for our members, and we appreciate your willingness to come back and do that for us. Just on a quick side note, how does power generation figure into the lake level conversation?
So Lake Sidney Lanier is a multi-purpose project. Our missions are hydropower, flood risk management, navigation, recreation, environmental stewardship, water supply, water quality. So with all those missions, we try to meet as many missions with one decision or one action as possible. So getting back into the water management piece, our water managers in Mobile determine how much water needs to be released on any given day and on a weekly basis to meet the needs of the system. Since we're going to release that water anyway and send it downstream for downstream needs, if we're going to release it, we're going to go ahead and generate power. And another deeper dive on hydropower can be because SEPA, the Southeastern Power Administration, comes into play in there with some other factors. But the hydropower piece is a function of the water releases, which gets into the whole water management aspect.
So sure, a lot of information we're going to be able to cover in upcoming episodes on Life on Lanier, and I'm looking forward to getting into each one of them individually. In the meantime, we're at the start of a new summer, the start of another boating season, which of course we're all praying for a safe year on Lake Lanier.
Yes, everybody's seen in the news or comments, whatever the case may be, Lanier is cursed. It's a horrible place. It's dangerous. Anytime you're around water is going to be dangerous. Humans are not made for water. We can swim if you learn to swim. We breathe air. We don't breathe water. So anytime you're around water, it's dangerous. We know water's fun. People come to the water to enjoy recreation, swimming, wading, fishing, boating, kayaking, paddling, surfing, sailing, whatever the case may be. Our message is always anywhere near the water, especially if you're in the water, wear a life jacket. Life jackets save lives. There's no controversy about it. There's no denying it. They just work. They save lives. Most people drown from unexpected entry into the water, falling off a boat, whatever the case may be. If they have a life jacket on, that's going to keep you afloat. So the big safety message is just to wear a life jacket. Now we are at the start of the season. Memorial Day weekend's coming up at the time of this discussion. We encourage you to come out. If you do come out, even to our parks, realize they're going to be full. Come early. And if you come, stay, because if a park gets full, no one else will be allowed in. And if you're there, and if you get there to save a picnic table for the rest of your family, and you get in and the park closes, well, the rest of your family will not be able to get in. So have a plan B. Either come early, stay, or have a plan B to go to another area, because we are a heavily visited lake. We receive over 12 million visits a year, and we just don't have the facilities to accommodate all the people. So please have a plan B.
Well, on another note, remember you are the captain of your vessel, which puts you in charge of safety for everyone on your vessel. So the best day on the lake is a safe day on the lake, and if we all just take a little bit more accountability and responsibility, we can make it a better year.
I agree wholeheartedly, and if I can, would like to touch on that. Being the captain of the vessel is true. We will look at it, and DNR will look at it. Who's operating that vessel is responsible for the people on that vessel and for the actions on that vessel. So those people need to stay aware. They need to stay sober. They need to know what's going on. They need to have a lookout. They need to do everything they can to do to ensure the safety of the crew, so to speak, of the people that are on that boat.
One other point of interest, and I didn't prepare you for this, so I don't know if you know the
Okay.
numbers off the top of your head, but I understand the new numbers are in for visitation on Lanier, and we rank really high again, once again, in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers overall global world.
Yes, we have our fiscal year 23 numbers. Our 24 numbers aren't in, of course, we're still in 24, but it is over 12 million visits a year. And that is number one in the Corps of Engineers nationwide. We are the project with the most visitation. And if I could take a minute, that visitation leads to about $700 million in visitor spending within 30 miles of the lake. So the businesses, the small businesses,
Say that
whoops,
number one more time.
$700 million.
$700 million. Thank you.
So the local jurisdictions get to reap the benefits, and the businesses, of course, of those sales and the taxes generated from those sales. So I view Lake Lanier and the recreation program at Lake Lanier as a significant, I call a regional economic generator. Um, I call it region because we touch 5 counties, or with spending within 30 miles of the lake. That's a pretty big region. The other thing in that, as far as the national economy, one little lake in North Georgia, how can it affect the national economy? There's a thing called a National Economic Development Benefit, and it's over $100 million generated from the recreation program at Lake Lanier to the National Economic Development Benefit. I'm not an economist. I cannot even explain what that means, but it is the highest NED generated at any core project in the country as well.
Those are amazing numbers, and it's something else we'll take a future look at as well. Tim, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. We'll look forward to a lot of other great information and other meetings here in the future, and let's hope for a great, safe summer here in 2024 on Lake Lanier.
Sure. Thank you, and thank you what the Lake Lanier Association does.
We'll be right back after this.
Lake Lanier Association strives to keep Lake Lanier safe for the 12 million people who use it for recreational enjoyment each year. We promote safe boating through our installation and maintenance of 300 solar lights on Lanier for safer boating after dark, and with our life jacket learner stations and promoting safety courses. The Lake Lanier Association is committed to educate and protect all who visit the lake each year. Learn more about the work of the Lake Lanier Association at lakelanier.org.
Well, welcome back. As we've said, we're recording this first episode right before Memorial Day weekend 2024. And of course, this is National Safe Boating Month. So we're very happy to have the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary from right here on Lake Lanier joining us today to talk about boating safety programs, different things they have going on. Dan Vaccaro, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Tell us about the Coast Guard Auxiliary on Lake Lanier.
Well, the Lake Lanier is the largest lake in Georgia, and we have a flotilla from that is supported by the U.S. Coast Guard. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary is a volunteer, a uniformed volunteer organization that is supported and trained by the U.S. Coast Guard on the coast.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
My own experience with the Coast Guard Auxiliary has been nothing but positive for many, many years. Not only the educational components, but the boat inspection components. Tell us about your different programs and what you do.
Well, generally, we have a lot of different programs, and I just want to mention that on the national level, we have an operations side as well as here in Georgia, but just generally throughout the country, we have operations, we have RBS, which is boating safety. And then we have other side programs, or I should say, major programs that we support the Gold Side, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, in many different ways. So here in Georgia, we generally have flotillas. We have 5 flotillas in Georgia. And the 2 major ones are one in Alatoona and one in flotilla on Lake Lanier. And so they both are the largest in the state. So within Georgia here in Lake Lanier, we have a program, like it mentioned, it's National Safe Boating Week. And so National Safe Boating Week and promotes awareness of boating safety and some of the things to do while you're boating on Lake Lanier. And so that's the first part, is the awareness side of it. The second is to offer some programs. Some of the programs that are very typical are something called the vessel inspection um, program. I'm sorry, vessel safety inspection. These are complimentary, like I mentioned earlier, it's a complimentary service that we provide to all boaters on Lake Lanier. And in the process, if a boater comes to us and says, or if a boater comes to us and says that they want to have it safety inspected, then we go through a process of checklists of things that should be on a boat, that should be on any boat, let alone a size and the make and so forth. But and some of those things we check are fire extinguishers, the life jackets. We check for you know, visual distress signals in case things go wrong with the boat or it falls, it just stops moving and so forth. And so we go through a whole checklist, and as a result, this is not a fine base. This is a really just a recommendation, and all the recommendation all the recommended items on the boat, like the ones I mentioned. We check them off, and then if they get through all the whole list without really finding a default, then we just say, look, this is what you need to buy, and basically they'll take care of it, and we'll give them a sticker that basically that promotes it has a sticker about the U.S. Coast Guard, and in the Coast Guard, it has on the sticker that they have sufficed the proper safety items on their boat.
That's terrific. I was surprised the first time I took the course, I was pretty young and it was pretty involved, but I learned a ton. Then I learned as I went along, even the most experienced boaters sometimes are surprised by some of the things they can learn in your educational courses.
They can learn some new things for sure.
We've
For
always
sure.
felt here at the Lake Lanier Association like every vessel has a captain, and that captain is responsible for the safety of everybody on board.
That's right. That's right.
So when you do your inspections, you look at the size of the boat, you make sure it's got all of the life jacket requirements. You mentioned the fire extinguishers. What is the most common thing you see that people don't think about that they really should be more aware of?
There's a couple of things as far as the state goes. The registration numbers are usually mangled or not properly installed.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that, because we work with the state, the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, because we work with them. And Bob is actually with me as my support guy. Bob is kind of one of our trainees on this end of it. And sometimes we're training him, and we're training the boater as well, and teaching them what the state requires as far as the numbers go. One other thing that people forget um, is the visual distress. The visual distress is something that is not always. A lot of people carry flares, and sometimes most of those flares are invalid because they only shelf life of 3 years, and most folks are basically most folks don't know uh, where the flares were bought and how they were bought, and so usually they'll have to buy new flares. That's the biggest one, is the visual distress.
The cool part about needing new flares is you can take your old flares and actually figure out how they work in a safe manner on they won't cause any trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm also always surprised how many people don't realize that the fire extinguishers have a date on them as well.
That's right.
And
That's right.
past that certain date, they need to be replaced.
And
So,
that's new. That's a new one because that just came out about 2 or 3 years ago, where the fire extinguishers can't be older than 12 years old.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Georgia add an element that now you have to have the safety clip that will kill the engines
Right.
attached to an item of clothing or your life jacket as you're driving?
Right. As you're driving the boat, it's the shutoff switch. It's a shutoff that shuts off your valve when basically if something were to if you were to be thrown from the boat, or if something were to distract you from driving the boat, that you fell over something, this is a clip that would shut off the boat right away. And it's only up on plane. When a boat is up on plane, they have to be attached to that lanyard that's attached to the throttle. And so it's that lanyard that has now just recently been something that the Georgia DNR are giving tickets for not being attached while up on plane. And that's for boats that are 26 feet and below.
Okay. So first time I went through the class, it was the whole family came. So if there's somebody out there, even an experienced boater that thinks, boy, it'd be great to get my whole gang educated and I might learn something new, or better yet, some wives who know their husbands don't know as much as they think they know about safe boating. How do they go about finding out about your boaters education courses and being able to participate?
Well, we have some stuff online. We have it's cgaux.org. It's a site they can plug in into their Google and find out where the local classes are. We have classes that are offered every month throughout the year. And then other flotillas have, depending on what lake you're on, they'll have access to that as well, being to get online to look at the flotillas. Our flotilla is 29, which is on Lake Lanier. But if you Google search other lakes, you'll find that almost every single one flotilla will offer classes.
Terrific. Well, we appreciate your joining us. Thank you for all of the information. Thank you for all you do. Your group is entirely made up of volunteers, correct?
That's right. That's right. All
So
volunteers. Right.
whatever we can do to make it a great, safe summer on Lake Lanier, we're all on board with that. So please be sure to look them up. Get yourself involved in boating safety. And remember, every captain out there, you're responsible for everyone on board. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of Live on Lanier, brought to you by the Lake Lanier Association. The Lake Lanier Association is here for you, our members, to promote a clean, safe, and full lake. We'd like to thank Dan Vaccaro from the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary for joining us today and remind you they have safe boating classes going on all year round. We'd also like to thank Tim Rainey, Operations Project Manager for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers here on Lake Lanier. If you have ideas for a future subject you'd like us to cover, questions for the Army Corps of Engineers, or would like us to feature your neighborhood or your neck of the woods here on Lake Lanier, feel free to email that to us at lakeinfo@lakelanier.org. That's lakeinfo@lakelanier.org. Also, you can find out more about the Lake Lanier Association at lakelanier.org. You can find Lake Lanier gear, the social media calendar, and all kinds of lake activities and events anytime at lakelanier.org. Look forward to seeing you next month when we're going to be talking to representatives from Lakeside on Lanier, keeping us up to date on everything happening on and around Lake Lanier, and a further deeper dive with our friend Mr. Tim Rainey from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with your friends and neighbors. We'd love to get the word out about Live on Lanier, brought to you by the Lake Lanier Association.